we were talking of the Irwin approach, right? Taking the state of stress sigma xx and sigma yy at the tip of the crack, and then taking the condition that yield stress is where this condition applies. But then we were trying to tell you that, you see, though this is a major improvement on the previous methods, but it still is not very perfect. When yielding occurs, the plastic zone must increase in size, right? Yielding means there will be some large size of plastic zone. A simple force balance leads to a second order estimate. Again, we are not saying that how did we derive this, but a simple force balance that you know, right? Sigma fx is equal to 0, sigma fy is equal to 0, and so on. So this second order estimate of the plastic zone size, which is twice as large as the first order estimate. So this time the plastic zone radius rp is 1 upon pi k1 by sigma ys whole square. We will show you in the figure very soon. So the first equation was the previous one, the Irwin equation, and a corrected second order estimate is this one. Irwin accounted for softer material in the plastic zone by defining an effective crack length that is slightly longer than the actual crack size. This is a very important concept which you should try to understand right now. You see, they are saying that there is a crack size, and then because of some plasticity, some ductility in the material, then at the tip of the crack there is yielding, and there is an R, a radius of the zone where the yielding or the plasticity occurs. And here he is saying that improve your method by saying that the crack length, the original crack length, replace that by an effective crack length, which is A plus Ry, right? So in your equations and so on, instead of A, which is the actual crack size, you add this plasticity region and use this effective crack size and so on, right? And this Ry is the previous equation. This is Rp, the second order estimate. The first order estimate was Ry on the previous page, so it is that, and it is for plane strain, plane stress, right? We have derived all the things based on a plane stress theory. So in terms of a figure, let us see how it looks. This is a very, very good schematic sketch, very, very good schematic sketch. If you see here, now they are not showing a sharp crack. They are already showing a slightly blunted crack, but that is okay. Here is the distance from the crack, R, and there is the sigma yy. There is the sigma yy. Now at sigma ys, right, they have this line here, so if you do this sigma ys, that when sigma yy is equal to sigma ys, then yielding will occur. So initially there is this Ry, this inner circle. Initially this is inner circle. So this is the first approximation by Irwin of Ry. But then because of the second approximation, this larger circle Rp is there, about twice the size of this one, Rp. So these are the two, and here it is yielding. After this plastic size, then the stress starts to drop. This was increased stress at the crack tip and so on. Then it starts to drop, and after a certain distance, it almost drops down completely, right? So now if you see, this is the line, this line is the elastic approach. This line is the elastic approach. So if the elastic theory, the original theory was there, then there will be a very high stress at the crack tip, and as R increases, it will keep on dropping, and so on, isn't it? So that was the initial one with a sharp crack with almost a pure brittle material. But with the first Irwin correction, it becomes elastic plastic. So this curve, this one, and then this one is the first correction. And with the second Irwin correction, the curve is this and this one. right, at theta is equal to 0, of course. So first order and second order estimates of the plastic zone size Ry and Rp. Cross hatched area represents load that must be redistributed, resulting in a larger plastic zone, right? This is because of plasticity, otherwise this area is the purely elastic area. So we have done the Irwin correction first order and the Irwin correction second order, and we are trying to explain here in this figure the LEFM, the first correction to LEFM Irwin, the second correction to LEFM by Irwin, right? So all those are schematically there, and it is a pretty nice schematic way to understand how the equations behave. Now the theories are developed in plane stress, but we keep on reminding ourselves that in many experimental conditions and so on, we have plane strain. So if we change the previous equation of Ry for plane strain this time, then it will change to this K1 by Ys sigma Ys square is there. The numbers change. Right? So whatever was Ry, now it is 1 upon 6 pi. The effective stress intensity. Remember, you see, stress intensity K1 is there. The equations are there. But they are based on the brittle theory. Now this is the modified brittle theory with some plasticity added. So one approach was that instead of the crack size A, use the crack size A effective. So this is how we are defining it again. If you want to find the stress intensity which is effective, the LEFM stress intensity modified for plasticity is Y A effective. Now, this is Y as a function of A effective. Remember, Y is a function of the crack size, right? We have told you F of Y, right? So Y is a function. So this is not A effective multiply Y of A effective. So Y sigma root pi A. The equation is the same. Y sigma root pi A. But the A is A effective, and the Y inside the equation is A effective. Y is some function of A effective, right? So if instead of the crack size A, you use A effective is equal to A plus Ry, then this is the K value. Now an iterative solution, you understand, iterative solution, you keep on iterating until the solutions coincide. You put A is equal to A effective. Remember, A is equal to A effective. As soon as A effective changes, Y also changes, right? So therefore you find the solution first time, then you apply it, and then you apply it, and so on. So an iterative solution is usually required to solve for K effective. K is first determined in the absence of a plasticity correction. The original K1 for LEFM, purely brittle. Then the first order estimate of A effective is obtained. First order A is equal to A effective is equal to A plus Ry. This is used to estimate K effective. A new A effective is computed from the K effective estimate. Remember, K is equal to Y sigma root pi A. So each time you can find a new K effective, it changes the A effective. The process is repeated until the K effective last time and this time is almost the same. So you decide that, say, the difference should be 0.001, for example, right? So the previous one, the current one, the previous one, the current one, until the two K effectives, the last one and the current one, are almost the same. You keep on doing this iteration. So you have to write a very small 2-3 line program in whatever, in MATLAB, in MathCAD, in C, wherever, and then you do it, right? So this is now the thing, that because A is becoming A effective, A effective is A plus Ry. Once you do the A effective, the K changes. For this new K effective, we will get another A effective, and so on. In certain cases, this iterative procedure is unnecessary because a closed form solution is possible. You see, this is one big generalization about any physics, any math. You see, there is iterative solution. Iterative solution is sort of numerical type of technique, that first iteration, second iteration, we keep on doing it until the previous and the current solutions almost coincide. But if we can do a mathematical model which directly takes into account the second change, the second order change and so on, then just one equation is directly there. So effective mode 1 stress intensity for a through crack in an infinite plane in plane stress. So again, there is a lot of mathematics and physics behind it, maybe 1 or 2 whole research papers, and one research paper maybe means 2 or 3 years of work. So that is there. We are not showing you the derivation, we are directly showing you that rather than doing that do the Ry by Irwin, then say A effective is equal to A plus Ry, and then keep on doing iteration. Directly this is the equation. K effective for this, right, through crack in an infinite plane stress, 6 root pi A under root 1 minus half sigma by sigma ys square. Right, sigma is the remote stress, sigma ys is the yield strength of the material, A is the crack size. So there is no A effective. A effective is directly put inside, right? Similarly, for embedded elliptical flaw, this was a flat crack. Embedded elliptical flaw, K effective is this, sigma root pi A upon Q effective, sin squares phi A by C whole squared cos squared phi raised to 1 by 4. Right? Remember that this is an ellipse of A and C, major and minor axis, and this Q effective is Q minus 0.212 sigma by sigma ys square. Right? So flaw shape parameter and so on, isn't it? So for these two cases, that there is a sharp crack in an infinite and central one, not edge. Similarly, there is an elliptical crack, central one, not an edge one. So these two full equations are there. So rather doing the iteration based approach, we can directly use this. Final thing, not recommended to use Irwin plastic zone adjustment for practical applications. Chapter 9 gives recommended approaches for handling plasticity effects. So what we are doing here for you and for us, if we think that we are doing fracture mechanics for the first time, so we are trying to trace historically how things improved, how the theory first came for purely brittle materials, which is linear elastic fracture mechanics, LEFM, how they thought of doing some plasticity correction at the crack tip so that the ductility of normal metals could be incorporated and so on. So this is already a plasticity correction. So it is not for purely brittle materials now. Some metals, normal metals, can also be now handled here. And first correction of Irwin, second correction of Irwin, 2 stages. But even then, the recommendation is that if you want to really practically do it, go to chapter 9 and see how plasticity should be handled. But this is theoretically how things evolved, and we have covered it to some extent, and we can do small problems based on these equations. Now we go to the second correction, the strip yield model. Remember, when we started this topic, plasticity correction, then we said that Irwin approach and strip yield model are 2. So strip yield model was first proposed by 2 scientists, Dugdale and Barenblatt. They assumed a long, slender means thin, a long, thin plastic zone at the crack tip in a non-hardening material in plane stress for a through crack. Remember, in the Irwin approach, the plasticity is a circle, a small circle, larger circle, and so on. Here they are thinking of a long, thin plastic zone. It is still in plane stress, and there is a through crack and an infinite plate is still there. So we will show you the figure very shortly. But assuming a crack of length 2a plus 2 rho, where rho is the length of the plastic zone, and closure stress, again yield stress applied at each crack tip. So we will just show that they are taking a series of small steps, and for each step they are using the same criterion as Irwin did, that we are taking a stress to be equal to yield because there is plasticity, right? So this strip yield model is a classical application of the principle of superposition. Principle of superposition, we do it for small steps, and then we combine it into a complete equation or a complete solution.